Agendas can make or break a meeting, especially at the moment when a lot of our meetings are remote. An agenda can add structure, clarity, and purpose to meetings. You don't want to spend most of your meeting discussing what it is you're going to be talking about in the meeting. That's where agendas come in. So today in the grind, we're going to be discussing practical tips to make your agendas more effective and also to make your remote meetings more effective. Okay, first up, a fact of particularly working at home. People like to talk. They like to converse with each other. They like to see how everyone's been doing. A lot of conversations, now most of us are working from home, are happening via Slack, they're happening in text, and the conversations that would happen around the office, they're happening there. So, at the start of your meeting, people are going to want to chat. And that's fine, that's good. That's how you get team cohesion, that's how you keep people happy, all that good stuff. And who just doesn't like to have a chat about what's been going on? Take account of that. You could potentially set time at the beginning of your meeting, 5 minutes or so, just where everyone logs in, they say hello, they see how they're doing, they see each other's pets. Discussed that before, but that's important. You've got to see each other's pets on the Zoom calls. But take account of that in the meeting. Make that part of the meeting. Or if you are pushed for time and you don't have the time to set aside for chat, make that a part of the workday. Because you could do it outside of work, but honestly, I think the best use of everyone's time, at least once a week, is to get together and chat and see how everyone's doing and see what's going on. So I'd say set aside a meeting time if you can't do it in your meeting, where everyone can just catch up, see how they're doing. It's important for morale, it's important for team cohesion. I would strongly recommend it. Now, there's a lot of ways to set up and track your meetings, but personally, and this links into agendas really nicely, I like to use the Google Suite because it's got a really holistic approach to the way everything works well together. So when you go into the Google Calendar, you click the day you want to set the meeting, you can set the time, you can invite everyone that you want to invite so they get this on their calendar as well. One thing I really like as well is you can add conference calling. So click right there, add conference call, and you don't have to worry about pasting in a Zoom link or people dialing in or whatever. You have it all right there, and it's just a button on their invite. Just click right there and they join the call. Works really nicely together. Now with the actual agenda itself, you can do it right here as well. In the notes section is where I would advise typing out or pasting in your meeting's agenda. Now, one of the reasons for this is that it's all centralized really nicely in one place. The agenda for your meeting is right there in the calendar invite. Everyone can see it really easily. But also, nice little tip is you can set this up so anyone can edit it. So if someone has to put in information themselves, or you've typed a bit where you're like, Sarah from Live Team, put information here, or put your presentation here, they can just paste that in directly into that invite. Everyone can see it and it's ready to go. One thing to keep in mind with an agenda as well is that it should be a live document. Now, by this, I mean, not only do you set it up beforehand, everyone adds in their information, you've added in the whole agenda, you've added in the flow, you can also keep notes in there. So what's useful about this is not only can you add things to the stuff you've got in there. So if you've got, you give your presentation, you can type in what came from that presentation. This can help set up expectations for the next meeting. It's something everyone can review after the meeting. So at the end of the meeting where you're like, okay, what have we agreed? What are we going to do? What have we discussed? You can type that all into the notes as well. So after the meeting, it's still all there, all the information you had. I would make sure someone in the meeting is typing notes, like that's someone's job. That's just a general tip. I would put those into that agenda that you had. It's still there in exactly the same place for everyone to view. You can even copy that, go into Gmail, email that out to everyone, or maybe your company has a Slack channel where you put meeting notes. Do that as well, but they all go in that invite. Everyone's got that invite. You can see it. It's all in your agenda. Very useful. One thing that can be very helpful in your agenda is adding guidelines. Now, this can be simple stuff like, this is the person who is leading the meeting. because that can be super useful. If you don't have that, sometimes in a meeting, that can lead to that thing that I said at the top of the video, which was like, so what are we talking about today? Being the top of the meeting and nobody knowing who's in charge. Also, just general notes can go in the agenda with these guidelines. Stuff like remote calls, put everyone on mute if you're not talking, if that's something you want, and then have a specific place in the meeting where you're going to take questions, so everyone knows that they can give their questions later, but they should be muted while somebody else is talking so it doesn't interrupt the flow of anyone else, like background noise and stuff. You know how it is working from home. We discussed that in another video, but I think that's important. You know, stuff like Google, when you're in the call, has a raise hand feature. You raise your hand, use that, like if you're open to taking questions during the meeting. But honestly, setting these guidelines in like right at the top of your agenda, super useful, saves a load of time. Also, something that's very useful, time things out with expectations. So if your meeting's an hour and you have a bunch of things to get through, assign a time to everything. That can be crazy useful. A top tip for that, by the way, if you're using XSplit Broadcaster, you can put those timers on screen. So you can add a timer, or if you don't want to be quite as intense, like so people can see the seconds ticking down. I've done that, and honestly, if you're with a team that doesn't find that stressful, that can be super useful. But just having a clock on screen can be helpful as well. So you say, Sarah from Live Team going to talk for 10 minutes about a progress report. You just got that. You can put that time on screen. You can do different scenes in XSplit Broadcaster for each presentation. So you can have different things, different timers. Then you stay on time and everything works really nicely. But putting these times in your agenda, everyone knows how much they have to prepare. Everyone knows how long they're going to have to talk. No surprises. That's super useful. And an agenda is huge for that. No surprises when you go into the meeting. We all know our expectations. We all know what we're here to do. One thing with your agenda that's super useful, get it to people at minimum 24 hours before the meeting. I would say get it to them before that, like as early as you can, ideally, but at least 24 hours before the meeting. This gives everyone time to get their stuff together. This gives everyone time to know what they're going to be presenting, because 9 times out of 10, meetings are not just one person giving a presentation. A meeting is going to be a group of you discussing something and coming to decisions at the end of it. So you've got to give people time to get that ready. So getting that agenda ready at least 24 hours. I would say more than that would be ideal, but at least 24 hours before your meeting. Agendas can clearly be a very powerful tool to accomplish quite a lot with a meeting. It stops a meeting being a long conversation that ends with you setting another meeting because you didn't decide on anything in this meeting. Those are the worst meetings. The meetings where you get to the end of it and you're like, yeah, okay, I think we've all decided we're going to need another meeting. That'll happen sometimes, don't get me wrong. Some big projects are just going to need that. But ideally, stuff has come to a conclusion at the end of your meeting, and an agenda will seriously help that process go by smoothly. Now, while I clearly love the Google way of doing things, what do you use? What tips have you developed for setting agendas for your remote meetings? Let us know in the comments below. If you've liked this video, do give it a like. And if you've enjoyed what you've seen, there's a whole bunch more on the XSplit channel. So do subscribe and see all the shows we've got going over there that are going to help you with productivity, that are going to help you with broadcasting, that are going to talk about technology to help you with all these things. Right there over on the XSplit channel. So until next time, my friends, thank you very much. I will see you very soon. Take care, pals.